Hey, welcome to Faith Talk Today. I'm Rick Probst. Hey, in a culture where parenting and grandparenting can feel more like friendship than leadership, it's getting hard to know where normal behavior ends and something more serious begins, like narcissism. Hear that a lot. We as parents and grandparents, are we raising narcissists? Well, joining us today is Dr. Danny Huerta, Vice President of Parenting and Youth at Focus on the Family. He's here to help us understand the warning signs and what we can do about them. Doc, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. Good to be on the show, Rick.
Thank you for coming back. Always a great time with you. Just good stuff. I mean, honest, not just because we're talking about it. I've seen the word, heard the word, read the word narcissism or narcissist more in the last year than I have in the previous 64. What's going on?
Yeah, well, there's a focus. I think social media has changed that. It's beginning to shape this idea of that the world needs to notice me, needs to know me, and then there's a comparison of skill sets, and I need to be better than everyone else. And one of the big things that I've noticed is just this desire to clear things out for our kids, to make it as easy as possible. And part of the messaging within marketing has been happiness is everything. And an interesting stat, Rick, that I pulled up is 37,000 plus college students studied in this research study showed narcissistic traits rose as fast as obesity from 1980 to present. And these are narcissistic traits, and that's a distinguishing factor from a disorder. There are more narcissistic type of behaviors and traits. And so that's something we'll unpack together here on the show.
So if you would give us a layman's definition that even a washed up radio talk show host could understand, give it to me.
Yeah, there's a lack of empathy. There's a grandiosity. There's an overestimation of skill sets that, I'm above other people, above the rest, and I can't be bad at something. I'm good at everything. And there's a desire for the world to bend for you. So you get extra privileges that maybe other people don't get. So there's a sense of entitlement that I deserve certain things. And there's a lack of gratitude where if you have kindness or gifts, it's like, I was expecting it. There isn't a sense of gratitude with that. And then a big one would be the exploitation of other people, especially when you disagree with them.
Yeah.
They don't care if they're going to hurt you or not.
Now, you said that narcissism is rooted in fear oftentimes and or deficit of love. Unpack that first of all for us before we get into like red flags and what we as parents and grandparents can do.
Yeah, there's this fear of not being loved by other people. And so sometimes there's a hypersensitivity with the narcissism. If there's a little bit of criticism, then you become the bad person. And so there's this sense of protection. And so there's fear behind that, and a fear that is built over time that they can't handle uncomfortable emotions because the parents have cleared that out for them. They haven't been able to learn failure or making a mistake and then bouncing back from that. And so that's the fear side of things. The other part that's unpacked that we'll unpack is just this empathy piece. I think this is an important one. Kids being able to see that another person has feelings and emotions and experiences, and that I can affect another person in a negative way. And that begins from an early age. A child needs to learn that if I compliment them, it doesn't mean I'm less than them and that I'm going to give up love. I get to love them and see them grow and experience some great feedback. And it's a celebration of other people's successes. And that's a key distinguishing factor as kids are growing up, that the love and praise can go around the room. It doesn't have to be just for you.
Dr. Danny Huerta with us, Vice President of Parenting and Youth at Focus on the Family. Always a great guest with us on Faith Talk Today. Specifically, we're talking about, and when this came across the desk, Adam said, "Hey, do you want to talk about it?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I hear it everywhere. I mean, it's crazy town. And I think too, that we want to get ahead as much as possible as I would be a grandparent. I am a parent, but also looking forward to being a grandparent. And so, we want to make sure that the key things are in place and we don't let this slide. So, instead of putting fear out there, which you are not, but I think the first maybe that parents or grandparents would go to is, oh my, am I raising a narcissist? What do I do? And how do I see, is it in my child? Is this normal behavior? They're younger, or when does this happen? So let's talk about that. What should we do?
Yeah, and it begins with the fact, just understanding that we're naturally selfish and naturally self-protective. That is a natural human trait. And so within that, that's in the continuum of narcissism. We're naturally consumers of things and consumers of people to try to gain love. Where we come in is teaching our children, and that means training them to become contributors within society. And that's another part of who we are, but we have to draw it out. That means learning to contribute within the home, learning to serve other people, learning that we're stewards of things and not owners of everything, but that we steward things. And so we can teach kids early on that, hey, you have some money here, let's steward that. The tithing piece is one piece of that. There's other ones where we can give to other people, that where we're generous with our money and generous with our words. Generosity is about being able to give to others. So kids love doing that, and they receive a dopamine hit. And so it takes an intentional training there. And also as parents, let's help kids learn how to lose well, how to face adversity well, and then learning that they don't have to be good at everything, that maybe they're not good at something, and that's okay. Let's begin to seek out who you are in Christ. And so I think if you're going to remember something from this show, it's consumers versus contributors. And consumers can be nice and kind and everything because they want something in return. They see the interaction as a transaction to get something from. Let's teach our kids how to be contributors in God's kingdom. So that's kindness and empathy and all that for the goodness of the other person in front of you.
You talked about service. If I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, the last time we spoke or the time before that, you and your children, and I can't remember, I apologize, how old they are, but you guys were going in the community or somewhere to serve because you wanted to impart into them those specific characteristics.
Yes, that's correct. Now they're 22 and 20, but from an early age, we did that. From the time they were young, we would go to a neighbor's house or someone else, or grandma and grandpa's house, and we would just serve them. But it begins within your home. Do they have chores? A lot of parents don't give their kids chores. They feel like that's going to make them unhappy. It begins within where you're contributing with each other and letting them feel uncomfortable. It's okay to have the discomfort of having to work hard.
My sons are all men, and growing up, we gave them chores, and they were very unhappy at times. But our thing was, hey, you're a part of the family, and we all do our part. And we all have chores here, unloading the dishwasher, putting the forks away, blah, blah, blah. And, no heavy lifting like changing out a transmission or anything, but something that's a part of putting away the dirty dishes or whatever. Whatever those chores are, cleaning your room, and it made them better, be able to serve people. And then, oldest one has been married now for, I guess, 4 or 5 years, made him a better husband in a sense, because he recognized, hey, I'm not here to be served, but I'm here to serve. Love it. Dr. Danny Huerta with us and Focus on the Family. Real quick, we're running out of time, Doc. How about some resources that we can put our hands on?
Yeah, we're focusonthefamily.com/parenting. Just come to our website there. That's going to be the simplest one. And you'll find lots of resources and assessment for you on how to practice the 7 traits. And that helps not raise a narcissist. Then you'll see a parenting styles quiz there and the age and stage resources. Just peruse that site. You'll see lots of articles, including some on this very topic. And one thing to keep in mind is when you're praising your child, make sure it's something that is a compliment, but also you're not overpraising your child. So let's say, for instance, you have a talker child. Just let them know, hey, I love to see this social part of who you are. It's not everybody loves you. Watch how you're speaking. We have all those tools in our site there, focusonthefamily.com/parenting. And we also have a counseling line there if you want to find it.
Good stuff, Dr. Danny Huerta. Always a great time with you, Doc. Love to have you back. Looking forward to that. Hey, next week, another great guest with another great conversation on Faith Talk Today. Till then, I'm Rick Probst. See ya.